So you have a goal, you have some ideas, but you aren't jumping into action. Something has you stuck. What if you looked at such a challenge creatively, symbolically, or even mythically? Let's do it together in this Doodle-to-Doing. Welcome everyone to Doodle-to-Doing. I'm your host, Karen Light, artist and creative coach at How Doodle, where I support people in becoming empowered creative leaders in their life and work. You have a creative idea and you are inspired. So why the heck do you get in your own way? Why can it be so hard to transform that idea into effective and satisfying action? The good news, you're not alone. This is the conundrum of every person striving to be the hero in their own lives. It's the task of everyone who wants to intentionally create a life of satisfying experiences and meaningful success, and is what grows each of us into more empowered, resilient people. My guests, Jessica Clancy, Krissy Metzler, and Kate Wade of the Goalden System, are here to share about common challenges that can get in the way of launching into action so that you can take those next steps. The Goalden System promotes a coaching approach that excels in providing lifelong skill development and strategy implementation. With backgrounds in behavioral change, leadership, and coaching, the Goalden System understands the difficulties associated with learning new skills, implementing new strategies, or recognizing patterns of behavior. They couple goal setting with reflective experiences and an executive function focus, yielding optimal results for individuals. With the Goalden System, you will find that you're capable of exceeding your goals and living the life you were meant to live. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you,
Great.
Karen, for having us.
It's so fun to have three guests.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm excited to jump in with you all. All right, ladies. So I always start with an intention. So what I invite you to do is just read through what's on here today and say the one that's jumping out to you the most.
Let go.
I see. Don't tolerate boredom.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I'm going to go with, which one? I'm going to go with be silly. So this is what doodling is all about. All right. We're embracing having a little fun with our challenges. We are going to play and experiment and be curious, and we're not going to really worry about how things look. We can fail. This isn't about any art skills as we jump in. So whatever one jumped out to you, I recommend writing it down for yourself and holding on to it in case you feel a little stuck or like you're getting a little too like in your head about something. You can remember your intention for today. All right, let's warm up those doodling muscles. Everybody got something to doodle on, doodle with? Okay, so something I really love about your logo is that it has that lovely hexagon in it. So let's just start by all of us drawing one hexagon, big enough that you'll be able to doodle something in the middle of it. For those of you who need reminders like me, it's 6 sides. Like how many?
I know how many sides it gets, and I'm still struggling over here.
Your hexagon does not have to be perfect. We can let go of all of that. It can look a little silly. It can look a little oblong. It could look a little funky. All is welcome. All right, we got our hexagons. Everybody got it? Yep. Let's see all of our funky hexagons. Yes.
Funky wonky.
Okay, so we're all master doodlers right now. And I want you to think about now, so you all shared with me that one of the reasons that a hexagon is in your logo is because it holds a lot of significant value for you. Yeah, so you guys want to share what it means to you all?
We intentionally chose a hexagon shape because it is the strongest in nature. So all 6 sides have to be really strong in order to kind of build a foundation and grow outward, upward. So our system has 6 parts to it, like a hexagon. And we just think it's really important to let people know that even if one of your walls is kind of weak right now, like you can strengthen it and get your hexagon back into tip-top shape.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Okay, so the hexagon is a powerful shape, symbolically and in your business, and it can be for all of us. So right now, I want us to imagine that that hexagon is sort of the shape of the emblem on your hero uniform or costume or whatever you want to say, your hero getup. So what would you put in the middle of that hexagon? And I don't want you to overthink it. We're just going to do a really quick little warm-up doodle. If it even just turns out to be some scribble scrabble, that's still okay. We can make meaning out of that, I promise. So let's just doodle something in the middle of your hexagon that could be like a power symbol for you. Finish it up. And I introduced you all collectively, but I think this could be a really nice way to get to know each other a little bit better individually. So I'd love for you to, because even though you all work together, y'all live in different places, right?
We do.
Yeah, so you can say where you're zooming in from. And if you want to say a little bit about yourself, or you could just say it through your doodle. What's your emblem about? What's your little superpower? So here's my emblem.
Wow.
I got a paint palette, and I was thinking about it because there's so many things to choose from. So I love ideas, and I like mixing things together to make new things. And I think it's a bit of representative of my superpower. So I put a paint palette in there.
I love that.
Yeah. What'd you guys choose?
Karen, where are you zooming in from today? Do you mind if I ask?
No, I'm so glad you did. I am zooming in from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Awesome. I was going to say, I think we're all in different states, which makes this a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Jessica Clancy. I'm zooming in today from Southeast Florida. We call ourselves living on the Treasure Coast. And I went ahead and did mine with a heart. I mean, it's the first thing that comes to mind. It's my quick doodle. I know that we're striving for look at Krissy. Progress, not perfection down here. So I was putting a bumblebee in there, but you couldn't see it. So I just kept shading it in. Yeah. So that's where I'm at today. Anything else I was supposed to say?
No, that's awesome. And a couple of things I want to say about that, which is great, is like, whatever you revert to in doodling is totally welcome. Who cares if you draw the same thing all the time? You're still getting amazing benefits, and it probably really means something to you. So, and hearts are awesome. There never, ever can be too many hearts in the world. And the other thing I want to say is that I love that you just kept going with it until it turned into something you're satisfied with. The bumblebee didn't quite turn out the way you wanted to, so you just let it keep transforming.
That's very
the spirit
accurate.
of the bumblebee now lives in that heart.
It does.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, Krissy, you have to go now.
So I too drew a lovely little heart because I have to kind of try and constantly remind myself to do more things that I love and to do more things that kind of let me let down my guard and, like you said, Karen, like be silly and just remember to do things that bring me joy. So that's kind of where my heart came from. And I am zooming in from outside of Chicago.
Yay! One of my other homes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so mine is not a heart. Mine.
Ooh.
I know, right? So so if you look at our business logo, it's hexagons that kind of build in. So just in terms of thinking about hexagons, I just like how things kind of connect, and that's how I am as a person. I like things that kind of I like putting the pieces together. I like putting the people together. I like making those connections. I like building the things. And then it also kind of reminded me of like a gemstone, and I like things that are really shiny, so I kind of like that too. But I also like how it's not complete, how there's room for that growth, that it's building. So, and that's kind of how I feel right now. I feel like there's a lot of things that are building, so I'm pretty stoked about it. And I'm Kate, and I am zooming in from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yay. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed and loved, was that it wasn't finished. And I was hoping you did that on purpose. And it wasn't just like, all right, done doodling, introduce yourselves. And you're like, wait, not done. No, it's on purpose. I like
on
that. We're in
purpose.
process.
Very much so.
Maybe I'll add that. I love that phrase. Maybe I need to add that to Spirit of a Doodle, in process. Thank you for introducing yourselves a little bit further. So what we're here to talk about today is getting stuck when we're trying to launch into action and how we can like unstuck ourselves, right? So let's get deeper into what it is that makes us feel challenged in that area. And let's do it with some doodles with you all. So I want you to each think about what keeps you from launching into action. And I'm going to add like a little layer to this because, you know, I did introduce this as like a little bit of a hero's journey we're going on today. And you now have an emblem. So let's continue this theme. And I want you to think about whatever gets you stuck as like a little monster, a little enemy. And however you want to do that for the next minute to look like, I don't know, that character you're coming up against that you're like, no, I just want to do the thing, but this is in the way. All right. So 1 minute doodle.
Cracking myself
All
up.
right. I like hearing the giggles. We got our little monsters here, and I'd love to hear from you all what these stucks look like. Let's talk about those because I'm sure everything that we bring up is going to resonate with people out there. We might have all of these monsters, and one might be really present to us, or we might just be dealing with all of them at once, and even then more some. So who wants to jump in first to share their monster? What gets you stuck? Yeah.
Okay, so mine kind of it's not meant to be like a snake or anything. Like it's not snakes don't stop me. But this is like the list kind of to me, like that scroll, and I sometimes feel like I just get like, oh, I have these things to do and oh, I have to do those things. Kind of that like waffling kind of that ebb and flow of trying to get things done, but then seeing that there's more things to do. And sometimes that feeling is like it just like eats up and kind of his eyes kind of like a clock a little bit. So it's like also like you have that limit to time too, right? You can only I always say I can only do so much. So that's kind of my monster.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it makes me think about like with its mouth like that and the list like being swallowed up sort of by that list. Looks like he's a little bulky, like somebody's in there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
That one was like hard to swallow.
Hard to swallow.
That one got stuck in his gullet right there.
Let me out.
Yeah, this reminds me of when I get like that laundry list feeling, like just that never ending of like, I'll say it and I'll hear my husband say to me, you just stop saying all the things you have to do. It's more overwhelming. I'm like, oh yeah, it is maybe a little more overwhelming. When you stack them on top of each other, it feels very overwhelming versus the one bite at a time.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome, Kate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, continuing with the trend, I made a clock. Ooh, this way. I made a clock. Because sometimes I feel like I get stuck because I feel like there's just not enough time, whether that means fully in the day or even just like within the chunk of time that I have to hopefully accomplish that list like Kate was talking about, that, the time runs out and then I didn't finish what I needed to do. So it's like a battle up against time. And then
Mhm.
there's all my little circles going around on it because I feel
Like
like
it's moving
this
like
is
this.
really hard. How does Vanna White do this? Like go around and around and around and around and around.
I do like the little feet on the clock, Krissy. That
Thank
is very
you. I went
I'd
a
like to
little
see those
retro.
feet
I like
again.
it.
May I see the feet on the clock?
Yeah.
My apologies.
look at just a little
Okay, it's trying to be
Oh.
grounded. It's trying to be grounded there. I like this.
Yeah. And just a little, we're not really jumping into too much interpretation with all of these right now, but I have to say, because you drew a heart, there's green, you chose green for the clock, which is the heart chakra. So that's lovely. So you're trying to
Ooh.
put the heart in there, and it's probably like inner conflict of like, and the other thing that came up when you showed it was like, sometimes I just worry that there's not enough time in my life to do all the things I want to do, like
Oh,
in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
That was
that
awesome.
feeling is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Krissy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So mine is something I've been working on for a very long time, and that is the perfection monster.
Oh, she's awesome.
I like her feet.
I know.
I like that her hair is not perfect. It's a
It's
little messy.
not. It's not. She's there.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I just love these little like pom-pom feet and hands. They make me think of pom-poms.
Well, it's just like they don't have a hold of you because they can't, but it feels like they do, right?
Oh, like they're suction
Ooh.
cups.
They
Yeah.
also or like the stickies that you like throw against the walls that stick that
See
all
what sticks.
our children have.
Yeah. Well, when I first drew her, I drew her without wherever she is. I drew her without a neck, which is why I was giggling. I was like, oh, this is awkward.
Oh, well, interesting. Well, I'm glad you gave her space to breathe at least. Maybe she's breathing now. So you're making
bit.
progress in the perfection.
I guess so.
Her face is just like, meh, I'm
Man,
not
stop
enjoying this
stopping.
process.
Pretty
Mine
much.
is this little piece down here.
Ooh.
Ooh, I can do that.
I was just thinking about like I get one idea and I did, I could have drawn so many more light bulbs with more time, because they just like one idea leads to another idea, which leads to another idea, which leads to another idea. And then I'm like going like this between all the ideas. And then I feel really like dispersed, like, let's do all the things. And then it just eventually might lead to like, I can't do anything. I'm just stuck
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that's too many things to do and keep track of and want to do well. That's my monster. That comes up all the time for me. Okay, so hopefully y'all listening, you have you relate to some of these monsters. And let's move on to talking about how we're going to start dealing with some of these monsters. I know something that you guys believe in is a solution-based mindset, that can be a really big help for all of us. And I'm just excited for you to talk more about that. What is it? And, what might be an example of that we could really, that would help us to understand it better.
Okay, so I'm going to start here because this idea of a solution-based mindset and the discussions that we have about it as a team in general really stem, and again, I'm throwing Krissy like a little spotlight under the bus, whichever way you want to take it. But I truly was inspired by Krissy when talking about a solution-based mindset, because when you are really one heck of a coworker, I tell you. But when you are really in a situation and you feel like I really messed up, I did all the things wrong, I made this person so upset, there's no way out of it. Krissy would always be the person to say, we'll figure out a solution. It's okay. We'll find a way out and everything's going to be fine. And that's really where kind of the inspiration for that conversation came from, because having someone who perceive things as doable, as fixable, as you can navigate it, that there is a way forward, really kind of inspired that conversation between us.
Mm.
So when we
Can
talk
I
about
say
it,
something about that
yeah,
real quick? Because I think what occurs to me in this, as you're sharing about it too, is like, if we haven't had enough of those people in our lives, then we haven't learned to talk to ourselves in that way, as well. So yeah, just thinking about that.
yeah, for sure. And really what it comes down to is it's really a way of embracing the idea that you don't have to have all the answers, but that's okay. It's okay to not have all the answers, and that you will find a path through whatever situation you're in.
Mhm.
And it might not be the path you wanted it to be, because if it was, the plan would have gone 100% according to plan and we would have all been fine and there would have been no need to pivot.
Mhm.
But it's important to realize that, there is a solution. It obviously isn't the initial one you thought was the solution. And it might not be what you would consider the best solution, because that's what you worked into the original plan. But
Yeah.
there is something, and sometimes it's really hard. We just had this conversation the other day where, like, when you're in the thick of it, sometimes it's really hard to see that solution. So having someone to say, okay, you can feel those feelings, like that's real. Like, you feel bad, something went wrong, you messed up somewhere, you dropped the ball. But then at the same time being able to be like, okay, how do you use that to kind of propel you forward to make those next steps? But I am a very strong believer in that there is always a solution regardless of said situation.
Yeah, it's like not buying into the voice in our head that says we failed,
Yeah.
but instead being like, okay, this is one thing that happened in a much bigger scheme, and this story can continue. Like, it's not over just because this didn't go the way I wanted it to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's about developing that as a mindset and just having that as part of your go-to. So if you have someone in your life who already has developed that mindset, that's really helpful because you can have that with them. But if you're stuck in a situation, your headspace is in a much better place if you've already developed a mindset of like, I can figure this out, I can fix it, there's going to be a solution. So it's slightly infectious when you surround yourself with other people who think that way, because then you start to believe it in yourself, even if you've let your perfection monster stand in the way of progress, because you're like, oh, right, this feels very monumental right now, but there is a solution. It is figure outable. There is a fixable moment to be had. And so that's a lot of the work as well that we do with our clients, is empowering them to see this in themselves too.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that it's figure outable. I think that's a new.
That is not me. I'm quoting some song I heard on Instagram, I'm sure.
Oh, really? Well, it works. This is figure
Yeah.
outable. I'm just going to start
Figure
saying that to all my
outable.
clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we even experience it,
Yeah.
ourselves. So I had a moment like this literally 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I was in the car and I got told that my support system would not be available when I needed them most. And I had a moment of, oh, okay. So really knocked me off course for a hot second, but we were able to move through it, and everybody came all hands on deck, and we were able to get through, and we succeeded and crushed. So it was cool.
Yeah, because there's these like there's things that happen where we feel like we've dropped the ball, and then there's things that happen that others have dropped or can't do something or dropped a ball. And I almost think, well, I don't know, they're equally difficult situations, but what you're talking about, Kate, when others drop the ball, sometimes it's very easy to then sit in this like, well, I can't do anything because it's out of my control. This person over here is the one responsible. So there's nothing, I can do nothing. This just sucks. That's it.
And there's always the difference between, like, things that are completely out of your control versus things that you were like, I made a misstep and I kind of fell on my face and I need to get back up. But I think we can all attest to the fact that we've been in situations where, like, the plan hasn't worked out because of an act of nature. that
Mhm.
happened to me this past weekend. Or it's like a, oh no, I made the wrong choice and now I'm dealing with the consequences of that choice and I need to figure out a different way to move forward. So it's also balancing like what you really need to just kind of let go of and move forward versus like, okay, what would I have personally done different to
Mhm.
move forward for next time?
Yeah, much more empowered way of living. Like now you have agency, right? Now you can do something. Hopefully launch into action. Uh,
Mhm.
let's think about the solution-based mindset as like your helper. So everybody has these monsters going on. And in a hero's journey, a hero always gets to meet some wise helper that comes along and says some wise words to them or helps them out in some way. So this solution-based mindset really feels like one of those wise helpers to me. So I love each of us to take a minute to draw out what that looked like as a character. I'm so excited to see what everybody's wise helper looks like as the solution-based mindset. So let's do 1 minute on the clock. Let's see what these wise solution-based mindset helper characters look like. Oh, I love the giggles already. Let's go. Ah! Hold on, spotlight.
Well, we said it's not a snake, so we're not cutting a snake here.
That's
No,
true.
I'm
We're
cutting my
cutting a
list.
scroll.
Yeah, she's
I'm
cutting the
cutting my
list.
list.
Your list.
I'm gonna take out pieces of my list. I'm just
Mhm.
really hungry.
It's really hungry. It's like, oh, I love all these things in the list. Oh my gosh, that's so great. And I just love it on a color level too, because red and green are like opposite each other. And so they're so complementary. They're like, phew, they're meant to be together. Oh,
I know, right? It's just this is the constant act of just trimming. We have to
Mhm.
trim
Trimming.
our
Mhm.
list. And I love a good pair of scissors.
Mhm.
Like there's something very satisfying. I don't do a ton of, I do a fair amount of crafting, but like fabric stuff, like I don't do a ton. But I have like my good fabric scissors. Don't touch my
Got
good
some
fabric scissors.
dingers.
They're so
Right?
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody touched mine. They're full of glue now.
Right? There's
Mhm.
something very satisfying about a solid pair of scissors.
There is.
So
There
def-
is. Oh my God.
definitely my hero assist right here.
Yes, that's
On my
great.
list.
I love it. All right, who else has got a good helper?
It wasn't scary at all.
My helper is a stop sign
I love it.
because I needed, like, that's one thing that I try and be very intentional about when in those situations is to just remember to stop. Just
Every
because
time.
there is a solution does not mean that it is an urgent step that needs to be taken and you have to rush right into it.
Mhm.
So just kind of, I've been working really hard to kind of continually push myself into like, stop, fully assess, like first be able to like feel the feelings that go with something not going to plan, because that's important to not just shove that down, but then kind of pause, be like, what is the best solution forward? And
Mhm.
kind of giving myself that space.
Mhm.
So I kind of wish I would have drawn a hammer now to break open my clock, but
No, I think the stop
Like,
sign is
went with my
great.
stop sign.
It makes me think about too, like, I don't have to go with the first solution that pops into my head either. Like taking time to pause and like sift through those. 'Cause sometimes you just want to fix something so fast and then you just create another problem.
And the way you draw it looks like it's emphasized. It looks like it's like when things like shake.
Yeah.
Oh.
Really good. I love it. Thanks, Krissy. What you got, Jessica?
Well, when I feel that way, I need a big cheerleader.
Yeah.
When she
I
said,
didn't
like,
know
the
what I
crowd.
was I didn't know what I was drawing, but I knew there had to be a smiley face and some whatever else you see.
Oh my gosh, she's so happy.
Yeah, she's got pom-pom hands
She
ready to go.
does. She is kind of a pom-pom, like her body kind of looks like a pom-pom.
There it is. Yeah, remind me of one of those things that go in the sky, like woo, like for
Yeah. Oh, like the wiggly thing.
These
yeah,
things.
the sign. Yeah, the signs where the hands go out, like yeah,
Mhm.
like it's just very. You got this. Stop getting in your own head and just do it.
I love that she has a crown too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I forget
Mhm.
cheerleader needs a crown.
She's a
Right.
queen. Yeah.
No, she's got like Princess Peach energy here.
Yes.
Reminds me of your daughter.
A little bit.
She's
Yeah.
awesome. I love her. Thank you.
Thank you.
So mine looks like this person, which I think a good coach does for me.
Oh,
Sorry, it's
boy.
coming up weird in the light.
There
Oh,
you
there
go.
we go.
Oh, so cute.
Nice.
I love it.
So I don't have to get rid of my ideas. Like she like holds them for me, you know? She's like, here's a safe place, but like let's pick the one that wants to shine the brightest right now and like look at that and like be happy with
Yes.
it. But there's more room in the bag. Like if you have other ideas, you don't have to stop the flow of them. Just like let's hold them here. Let's give them a
Yeah.
holding place.
I like this.
That's what comes up for me. So we have our emblem, we have our helper with a solution-based mindset. You know, as you are in this solution-based, well, let me just start over. This might be new to a lot of people, right? Like thinking in this way. Maybe they do in some areas of their life, but maybe they're realizing, oh my gosh, in the spot where I'm stuck, I'm not practicing this mindset. I'm not. Or maybe there's a whole area of my life where I just don't practice it there and I've kind of given up on it. So how would you all recommend that they start cultivating this mindset?
So I think what often happens is if this is new to you, your immediate response is no. Or like, this might not work for me. But if you're open-minded to it and now you're hearing it, and you're like, how could this work for me? You're already now cultivating a solution-based mindset. So you're already taking that first step by just being a little bit more open-minded to the idea that this could work for you. You might need Krissy's stop sign to stop and reflect and evaluate, but there are some skills and strategies that do kind of go along with it. And one big one here would be reflection. So just taking a moment to reflect on maybe something that always seems to not be going your way. Maybe you're always running late to something that seems to be pretty realistic for some people and some of my own clients and myself. And you have to stop and evaluate, is there anything I could do differently that would help make me not run late, right? So just what are the possibilities there? Not saying you have to take action on them right away, but just being able to recognize that there may be other ways of doing things.
I think that's such a relief to hear sometimes is that you don't always have to be in action to be making progress on something.
Right.
Just thinking about things, like you don't have to make any decisions right away. You know, you don't have to like psych yourself up right away. You can just think about it and just be a little open to exploring like the doodle does playfully, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I think it's really important. Kate said it earlier too, and I'll mention it again because I think it's something that really needs to be driven home for people is that you don't have to have all of the answers. So, yes, there is a solution. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be left on a lone island to figure out said solution by yourself. You know, Jessica mentioned some of our work with our clients. Like we do this all the time for people. Sometimes it's just being able to have an expert share that information with you, or a friend say, have you tried this? Because you're not left to your own devices to kind of figure out every solution by yourself. Sometimes the solution is finding someone else to riff off of, to ask for help, to come on. I mean, even at the most simplest thing, we do a lot of home projects around my house together. Did not stop me from knowing I needed to call a plumber this weekend because it was beyond my scope. Like that was the solution. I could spin my wheels, or I could just come to the grips with like, I know this is the best solution, so this is what we're gonna do. But that happens in day-to-day tasks and how we kind of strategize getting those things done too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good reminder. We think that we are like, oh yeah, of course, we all need to ask for help. But I know I experience it for myself, and I have a lot of conversations with clients who feel like they're failing if they're not figuring it out by themselves, who feel like that means that they're not independent or that they're not competent. And it's a little bit of a mindset shift to be like, no, independence and competence means that you ask for help. Like that is a part of what makes you feel like a capable person who can do things. So I appreciate that reminder.
Well, and the other piece of it too, right? People say, oh, just move past it, right? We are not in the business of moving past something. Because moving past something means that you forget about it, or you ignore it, or you don't deal with it. We talk about moving through things. So move, like Krissy said, right? Move through the feelings you've experienced. Give yourself a moment to have the feels, whatever those feels are, whether it's disappointment, frustration, anger, have a moment, but then let's move through it. Use that experience to help you progress, to pivot into the next thing, to seek help. Use that as your momentum to keep going.
Oh, it's so important to deal with our feelings. Like they have to be recognized. I often think of this like in my internal world, because I was a teacher for so long, and I had for a long time with younger kids too. Often think of my feelings as all these little kids going, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And until I give them a little bit of attention and sort of redirect them, they're just going to cause chaos. And I'm not going to move forward, And so that's what happens all the time. People think there's something wrong with them if they're procrastinating, instead of being like, oh, wait, I'm having feelings here that I need to look at and move through and with into the solution. And maybe even those feelings are helpful to know.
Yeah.
Like if I'm feeling really angry about something, then maybe that's somebody else's idea of what I should be doing and not my idea of what I should be doing. And no wonder I'm not moving forward, or, there's so much juiciness there that can help you move with it. So, oh yeah, good one. Nice juicy stuff. Anything else you want to add, or are we ready to doodle with this?
I'm ready to doodle.
Ready to doodle with this? Okay, so I heard, stop and reflect. Think about possibilities. You don't have to move right away. You don't have to act right away. We're just opening up to ideas here. And then I heard find others to help you, right? And recognize when you can't do this on your own. And that's cool. That's awesome. That is a part of doing the thing, is having your team around you, your support system. And then also diving into whatever feelings are happening so you can move with them and through it, and not just avoid it and forget about things and then hate that later, right? Or beat yourself up about it. So these three things are really great. And I think we all need all three of them, but there might be one that's jumping out to you the most, that if you could embrace it a little bit more, it would really be a superpower for you. So whatever one's jumping out to you, or if there's another one, that's okay if you're out there listening. But think about that as a superpower and what that might look like as a superpower for the next minute, and doodle that out. what's your superpower look like? Let's see.
I'll go. I
Yeah.
saw hesitation there. Mine's not exactly a power, but just the ability to bridge things.
Oh.
Right? Like I gave her legs now. She's evolved. She now has legs.
Yes.
Little feet. But like mine's a bridge. Mine's just being like, it's okay to go from one to the other, or not just being stuck, but just bridging the gap of whatever that might be.
Yes. I love it so much because, well, now I'm picturing like, okay, we're staying into Hero's Journey Mythic World.
Okay.
Like wherever she plants her legs, there's a
Yes.
bridge. Like-
Yes. You see the vision. Thank you.
see it.
That's it. It's
What
just
an
like
awesome superpower. Yeah.
you're not stuck. You can build the bridge.
Yay. All right. Who else wants to show theirs?
Oh, Krissy's on hers. Oh,
I have all of my
let me get your
the little light bulbs, and I kind of tried to really run with the idea of just embracing other ideas, embracing that there are a lot of different ideas and solutions that are possible. I was starting to draw a slew of people and got as far as 2 before your timer went off. With my amazing drawing. So yeah, just kind of continuing to remember that with the staffing and realizing that there's lots of different ideas and solutions that are options based on the situation
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love well, light bulbs are one of my favorite things. So,
and even if it's only one other person, you're still good.
Mm-hmm.
you're like not alone in the process, which I think is so important for like getting out of your head, just get out of your own stinking head, man.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy place to be in most of the time.
Isn't there a quote like that? Like life isn't meant to be lived in your head. It's meant to be lived outside or something. Is that?
I don't know, but I
Something
think it's a quote
esque
now.
like that.
It's
Yeah.
not, yeah, life isn't meant to be lived in your head. So it's basically a way to help us get out of our head when we're often caught up in there.
Ugh.
I believe you when it comes to quotes, Jessica.
If it isn't, it should be now.
It is.
Great.
It is now. Told me.
Okay, so this is mine.
The
So yeah, so it's like an eye with our little like kind of hexagon like shards, right? And it's reflecting. So this is also kind of a corner on the paper. So being able to take the time to reflect, to that power of reflection and really being able to see like all the facets, right? And
This is beautiful.
We need to doodle with you more often.
Start every Monday off with a doodle.
Yes, I'm loving the sound of that.
So yeah, but just the idea of, really being able to see things from different angles, letting it bounce back at you, taking the time to do that.
It's got layers to it. I like the layers too, like seeing through the layers. And the things that are bouncing are kind of abstract. So to me, it also is like, okay, it's okay if it's vague at first. Like it doesn't have to be clear right away. Is like a reminder that I need sometimes because I get really impatient. I'm like, clarity now.
Right. But it's like, nothing will necessarily come straight back at you. You'll always see things from a different angle. So, and it might not all be right. It's all kind of wonky.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So what I've got here.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's see it, Karen.
Down at the bottom.
Ooh.
Nice.
I thought of like when you said reflection, this magnifying glass like popped into my head. And also it really seemed like it would help with this whole like too many ideas situation. So like, seeing things like up close, like really observing and seeing and like investigating kind of comes up with it, but also like seeing the one you want to magnify, seeing what wants to pop out and kind of create this like path, which looks like my light bulb is now smoking. So I don't know that, but.
Well, and Karen, what I see too is if you take the time to get the magnifying glass and you investigate, then the solution becomes more readily available versus just kind of rushing through the process.
I like it. Like get all your tools, right? Like
get them out.
tool. So good. Okay, ladies. So we're going to take this all into a little bit of a longer doodle. Aren't you glad I'm going to give you more than a minute?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So with this, I want you to really, what we've got here going is our little hero story. But it's time to surmount the challenge, right? We've got the right mindset on, we've got a helper there, we've got a superpower. We even have our emblem that represents what we're about. And we know the monster that we're up against. So what's left is to kind of figure out, okay, how am I going to use this? What's going to happen next in my story? So you're actually going to launch into action in this doodle. And I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to lead you through this and lead you into the doodle in this way. So close your eyes and just start by connecting with your breath. Maybe take a nice sigh out, all these challenges, all these monsters, just let them go for a second. Mindfulness can be such a great tool in all of this, especially with Krissy's staff sign. Calm those nervous systems down while we're feeling the feels. Slow ourselves down to see all the possibilities. As we calm our nervous systems down, we open up our creativity to all these different possibilities. We get stuck out of survival mode. We launch out of it. And as you feel your body starting to calm down, bring your attention to your imagination space. Whatever that looks like, whatever that little world is for you. Imagine opening the door to it. And you're stepping inside, and it is this mythic land. Whatever mythic, fantastical land pops up in your mind, just go with it. Enjoy that. You're walking into this land, and you look down, and you have the most amazing outfit on. And right smack dab, somewhere really cool in your outfit, is this emblem that you doodled out. Take in your outfit for a second. What does it look like? So you're feeling really good in your costume, and this land is amazing. And you are like so excited to go do something. But before you can take more than 5 steps in, that's when your monster appears right there in the middle of your path, blocking the whole view. So you're like, oh man. So you see this little spot where you can go hide behind for a second to gather yourself. And there you meet your helper. There's your helper. Say hello to your helper. And your helper is giving you all these great ideas so that you can start imagining a path forward. And in order to help you, they say, open up your hands, and they give you your superpower. So now here you are in this amazing costume. You got your superpower in your hand. You got your helper cheering you on, and you feel ready to face the monster. So you step back out and imagine what happens next. And I'm going to ask you to continue this imagination in a doodle. So you're going to slowly blink your eyes open and see where the doodle takes you in this action for the next 5 minutes. Just follow it. It doesn't have to look like anything exactly in your head. It's going to take on its own life, and that is great. Just see where it leads you. You don't need to force it to go anywhere. Let it surprise you. Remember your intentions. Here we go. So wrap it up.
Wrapping it up.
And I'm so excited to hear what happened for you in your world, because my world was really fun. And I hope yours was too. um,
You all right over there, friend?
I'm good. I'm wonderful. Okay. Here we go.
Not
So let's tell each other, it's story time, y'all. Let's tell each other these stories of what unfolds in this awesome hero journey of yours. Who would like to tell their story first?
Okay.
Yeah, she's laughing already. I love it.
Okay, so just my hero land is the picture at like mountains. There's castle in the background, but I was hiding behind the rock with my scissor friend, and I stepped out, and I always have a watch. I always have a bracelet on, so like my emblem like wasn't on my chest or anything. It's on my wrist, kind of like Wonder Woman, but like a little bit, you know. But so it's Krissy, stop drawing.
Sorry. Forgot my thing, my last piece. No, Jessica's drawing too.
I'm done. I'm totally done.
You must look at Kate's picture.
Okay, done.
If
Sorry.
I would have taken more time. Okay, so there are my little shiny rays. There's my reflection, and my big scary list got broken apart. And there are some things that don't even need to be on my list anymore, so they're going away. They're all everyone's smiling
Those
now.
are smiling.
You're awesome. Oh my
Because
gosh.
they're like, it's not that big of a deal. This is also like it like pulverizing, like so.
Ah,
I'm like in this hero stance, right? Like boom.
that's great. It almost looks like too to me, like they're like, oh, we have lots of hands, we could help. Like
Yeah, they all have legs
they
now.
could
So
even
some
be
of
your
them,
little helpers.
they're like,
Kate,
oh,
are the
look.
ones that are leaving, are they going to find someone new to be on their to-do list? Like, are
Well,
you, because that's important though, right? Like to be
right.
able to be like, I can't do everything. This is my spouse. This is my coworkers. This is
Right.
my whatever.
So because we ran out of time, I was actually gonna have someone bending down to pick one up. That was like the next piece of what I was gonna draw over here. So someone was gonna have their hand out and was gonna take this little guy for me, but I didn't have time.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that.
That's fine.
Yeah. So and feel free, you guys, like say anything else that's coming up for you too. But I love how you've got this strong power stance that's happening. And you're like, enough. Like, this is where I draw the line, which if we were to keep going into mythic talk, right, is like the warrior pose. Like you have the warrior pose going on. That's so strong and like assured and confident.
Well, and I was also thinking about Krissy's thing too, right? Like stop, right? Like talk to the hand.
Well, and when you can get to that level of confidence, it's like it's just like a whole new superpower in and of itself. Being able to know your own boundaries, because that's a piece of this too. And like figuring out your solutions is just knowing what's too far. Because personally, as a mom, I will overextend my own boundaries to keep others happy, but that doesn't mean it's the best solution for me. Right. So I like this boundary setting too.
Yeah, and not only with other people, but with ourselves, right? With our own minds that tell us we should be able to do all this list or we're failing. Like, no, enough. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not okay for me. Yeah. Woohoo!
Love it.
Love your story. Thank you. All right, next.
Extra drawing time.
Oh, I drew some light bulbs. I'll even like tell you what I drew.
Okay.
So I start down here and I'm like, oh gosh, this is hard. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm like, I'm gonna conquer this. I'm gonna get up like Kate. I pictured like the very picturesque mountains and like the whole deal. And then I kind of got slapped in the face by my time and feeling like I don't have enough time. So I threw a stop sign at it. And it broke. And I love that there's like I made like this very nice pretty path up to the mountain, and then something fell over it. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, there goes that. So this one's more of like a cobblestone, good luck. kind of thing. It's a little bit wonky looking. But just kind of remembering why I want to be able to do things and why I know I need to find a solution is because it's possible and it's going to get me to the top, in this case, of the mountain where there are things that I really love.
Oh.
It makes me think too, like, cobblestone roads are so charming. Like when we're on just this straight path, sometimes we miss a lot of like interesting things that are happening around us, like little details or I don't know, just we have cobblestone outside of our little house and I just love it so much. I was cleaning it yesterday and actually enjoying picking the weeds out of it because I just find it to be so sweet, So there can be those little lovely surprises when you take a different path.
Kate took me on my very first cobblestone road in
Ooh.
Charleston when we were there last week. So yes, I can attest. I mean, it's bumpy, but it's beautiful, and it still got us from point A to point B. So metaphorically speaking, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It's a perfect metaphor. I mean, yeah, it's a little bumpier. It's like louder if you're driving too. It's like, and you can't go as fast. You can't go as fast on those. So you really have to sort of slow down and look around. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I love
that's life,
it.
right? Obstructions
Mm,
all the time.
good stuff.
All right.
Yep.
So mine had like my little cheerleader over here. We convened over here, and then we put the bridge out over perfection. Where that goes, right? We threw her under a bridge because sometimes you just gotta walk over that ish and like figure it out and not be afraid. And my land would always have rainbows, and I like shoot out glitter as I soar. It's just kind of how it would be because I need to trust that when I do something, I know I'm going to do it well, even if it's not perfect. It's still going to be done well because that's what I like to do, and that's okay, right? And so soaring into the rainbow of clouds, and like Kate said, mine would obviously have a castle somewhere back there. But just being okay with, either am I stumbling up the bridge? We don't know. Am I flying? Am I climbing it? It's just like open for the imagination, but we're going to get up to that rainbow eventually. So
It might look different every day, right? Like you might climb one day, you might fly and spray glitter everywhere one day.
Well, I like how your bridge looks dynamic to me. Like it looks like it's moving.
yeah.
Like it looks like almost like a slinky, but like that's but like that's what life is, right? Like it changes. And it's not a stable bridge all the time. Sometimes it's a wonky bridge.
Right?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a double helix even going on there too. Which I think just speaks to like also this idea like taking care, like you were talking about boundaries, like taking care of your energy, like where's your energy going? How are you directing your energy? And the other thing it makes me think about too is this question of like, well, how will I build my bridge today? What does that look like? There's a great, I always think of the YouTube channel, How to ADHD. She does like bridge to motivation piece, which I just love that metaphor. And it's coming up in that, in this picture.
And you have to like tame the chaos, right? Like you have to tame the chaos as part of it, but it doesn't mean you need to involve and be stuck in the chaos, which sometimes happens even in my own world when I just feel a bit more overwhelmed, or the kids are screaming, there's a phone call to be had, there's work to be done, it feels a bit chaotic. And so just finding ways to step outside of that and then be my sparkly little self helps out too.
Or even like it could look like the bridge is even like on it, like it's
squashing
using it, like it's using it in some way, like there's stuff in there, but I'm just using this part of it. I don't have to be stuck in it. to cross it. And I just have to say, I love how you draw on file folders.
Oh, I love, it's just a satisfying, like, you know, my colored pencils on here. It's just a great sound, a great feeling.
Mhm.
And I totally do.
And it's a great tip if anybody's having a hard time doodling, to doodle on something that isn't precious, and it'll tell your brain that you can
Yes.
just play. Doesn't have to look perfect. It's a good way of taming the perfection
Mm.
monster.
Mhm.
All right, so here's what happened in my world.
Yay.
Honestly, I didn't think too much about the background, but maybe that's because I had the magnifying glass. So you know how like it was almost like I could flip the magnifying glass and suddenly it shrunk things. So it could go both ways. My magnifying
Right.
glass is
Yeah.
what I
Okay.
discovered.
I like it.
So suddenly the monster was sort of tiny and he was
Aw.
like down here. And I had realized that I was magnifying the wrong thing. Like I had the magnifying glass on the wrong thing and I like blew it out of proportion. And so when I flipped it around, he was tiny and he was like pointing over here. And what this little guy has been doing is collecting my ideas into a little treasure chest. And
Yeah.
so, and together, which is this is my superpower, right? Is like mixing things together. Like together, they grow the bigger idea.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
And I was like, what? That's so cool. He was my helper the whole time. And I was using my magnifying glass wrong and got scared by him.
Wow.
But he wasn't scary at all. He was really, really sweet and cute.
With our powers combined.
Yes.
Well, but I think it's really nice to hear that perspective, Karen, because I think so many times we look at things and we're like, oh no, like this is what it is. And it's like, no, flip your magnifying glass around
Yeah.
Mhm.
and see if you can see it from a different perspective. And sometimes you can do that by yourself, and sometimes you need somebody else to kind of nudge you to be like, flip it around.
Yeah.
Let's try
Yeah.
something different.
Reframe
Yeah.
that. Mm-hmm.
Well, and the growth too, like you have all of these ideas, but just being able to take them or utilize the best pieces to move into that growth and that growth mindset even as well, right? Being able to cultivate something new for yourself that benefits you, that gives you the power to move forward in a really positive way. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. It was a really fun journey to go on. I loved thinking about it in that way. And I hope that, oh man, if you all are listening and you have these hero stories to share and you post them somewhere or you want to send them to me in an email, please do. We're all pretty excited to see what hero story you might have doodled during this time. So much fun, you guys. I think the way you're presenting this is great because it's mindset, but it's also like very practical. You know, these are concrete things that we can walk away with and start thinking about and using and doing in the moment. So if right now somebody out there is struggling with something right now, you've just given them some great tools. So thank you. That was so much fun. Thanks for doodling it out with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
thank
Woohoo.
you, Karen.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So, you know, you can join the Goalden System coaches the first Thursday of every month at noon Eastern time for their no-cost webinars where you will engage in dynamic conversations and leave feeling empowered to take on your goals. I know, I've been there. You'll enjoy it. Their next webinar will be held on May 4th, and they'll be discussing resilience. Yes, resilience was something that came up as a word in my brain even while we were doing this today. I don't know about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll get to continue this conversation with them. I'm going to include all of their links in the description of this video, so you'll be able to check that out and connect with them, or just even visit their website or follow them on social media for some really great tips. So really appreciate you all doodling with me, and thanks everyone else for watching and doodling along. You can find out more about my creations and coaching at howdoodle.com. Until next time, keep sparking that creativity.